I don't want to alarm you, Donald Trump Jr., but we just found out John Schnatter was fabricating. He did not actually eat 40 full pizzas in 30 days. This could be jarring. I know it's early in the morning. I don't know if you want to deal with this right now.
That's the Papa John's guy?
Papa John's, yeah. He didn't actually have, he said he's going back on that. He tested 40 pizzas. He didn't actually eat the entire pizzas.
You know, if Trump said that, they'd impeach him for it. They would. If Trump said he ate 40 pizzas, he ate 39.75 pizzas, it would be over.
Well, the problem is he said it to the Russians.
You know what I mean? Can't do that.
So you can't.
Can't do that.
I saw a video yesterday. You posted. It was on your Instagram, and it was your dad was thanking you guys, the family. I'm not sure where that was, but it was really it was nice. He was like, my family and my sons and my wife, and it was like that was a really nice side of him that I don't see that enough. I like that side of him a lot.
The family side?
I do too. I think he's an old school guy. I mean, construction, building, I think he doesn't really like showing sort of the other side. It's there and you sort of see it, and sometimes you see it in the reactions or even the stories years later from other people who he sort of touched in a way that they wouldn't expect. I don't mean like Joe Biden. I mean like, did something, unusually nice for. But yeah, it's not a side he likes to show that much. And I sometimes I wish he actually would, because it is there and it is real.
Is that from being in business and all of a sudden, like in business, weakness or certain things are interpreted as like, hey man, when you're in business.
I really think it is. I think it's that. I think it's the nature of sort of his father was sort of the same way. He was like, great guy, super, but like, just a very tough sort of Germanic guy, became the man of the house at, 12 years old. And it was like, now we're in charge. So it was just that sort of drive and work and everything else. And so I think it's just, partially that. And so, I think when he shows it, it's pretty amazing because we see a lot of it, but I was like, you should highlight. Why would I highlight that? It's just different.
It's a nice side though. I watched the video. I don't know if you saw the video. It was on.
I didn't.
Was that from the White House?
I think it was the White House. I think it was sort of after all of that. He just sort of was like, hey, I really just want to say sorry to my family for putting them through all of this nonsense. No, he knew that politics would be rough. I think I spoke to you guys last time when I was just in here on like my book tour. Talking about it, like when he looked at me in the elevator and as he's going down to announce, back in like June of 15, and it was like, now we find out who our real friends are. And he's not going to say something all overtly profound, but it was just he's just such a realist that way, and it was sort of cool to see because it meant, he's sort of a student of life. Like, he gets it. He understands the real world and what that's all about. And it seems like in 2020, you don't actually live in the real world. You sort of live in this, like, pretend world, but it's not real, right?
Like it's a bubble or it's...
Well, you have to be this way, and you can't think that. And, he sort of gets it. But what was cooler for me about him and why now, when he's doing this job, was he got it. He knew how rough it was going to be, and he did it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he didn't need this job. He didn't need to go in and do that. I don't know if we knew it'd be quite as brutal or vicious as it's been.
Do you think he expected to win when he first signed up? When he first went down that escalator shot, he announced he's running, and everybody was like, oh, this is kind of a goof. He's threatened to do this before, but the celebrity is now saying he's going to run. Do you think at that point, or even by the first debate, that he really thought, I might be the president?
I don't know. I mean, listen, I don't think he's going to do anything where he thinks he's going to get blown out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think he sort of assessed the fields, the strengths, the weaknesses, and said, I think I can bring something different. And, I think he's a little different as a politician, obviously, but also even as a business guy approaching it, right? If you say, you did a Bloomberg comparison, well, both business guys, but like, it's a little different for Trump because, being a real estate guy, being a builder versus a financial services guy, he's actually interacted with real people, with real Americans. And I think that's why he was sort of able to relate, even though on paper you'd say there's no way that this guy could have an understanding of sort of blue-collar America.
Right.
But he did, because he spent time on job sites. He walked around. He spoke to those guys, not just, people behind a computer.
What was the first indication you had? Because that's a good question. Did he think he was going to win? And when it starts happening, you're probably like, okay, he might. What was the first thing that happened where you're like, Jesus, he might actually really win? Like, what was the first indication you had that, like, this is going way better than anybody thinks?
Debate number one in the Republican primary. Remember when they did the thing where it's like, well, raise your hand, if you will not blindly support, like a sheep, whoever the candidate is,
Yes.
regardless of what they say about you over the next 6 months. And everyone's like, oh yeah, well, we'll obviously do that regardless of. He's like, yeah, puts his hand up, like, yeah, I'm not a lemming.
And he was.
And
I
was
remember
like,
that shot. He's the only person raising his hand, and he just kind of shrugs his shoulders.
It's the opposite of when you look at the Democrat field. Be like, universal health care. You're just going to pay for, or you're going to fund health care for all illegal immigrants. Like, just raise your hand. Oh, we're going to do that. Like, Americans don't get that, but you're going to do it for illegals. Like, it was that because I go, you know what? He's not a sheep. And, our politicians have been too afraid to take on real issues. They just sort of go blindly by whatever a survey says that minute rather than making an intelligent decision. And when I saw that, I go, oh, there's something here. Because people are fed up of just, the same old, and you make promises and you don't actually do anything, and there's no accountability, and that's just sort of the way the game has been played for far too long.
Well, you look even on the Democrat side. We talked about this, like the guys in the front are Bernie, Pete Buttigieg, and maybe Amy Klobuchar. Like, they're all different than Biden, and it's almost like even on that side of the aisle, people are just tired of the same thing.
Yeah,
and Bernie's a politician,
Bernie's a politician, but he actually has a real following, right? Meaning Mayor Pete didn't have a following before this. It's like, come on, give me a break.
Like, there are people who sit there going, I like Bernie. I'm not blindly voting for a party. I'm not just voting for not Trump. I actually like Bernie.
Correct. I mean, and so, and you can see the DNC sort of doing whatever they can to try to screw Bernie. I mean, but I was like, hey, keep going, guys. Their instincts are so good. The last time they rigged a primary, they gave us Hillary Clinton, which was honestly, I was like, thank God. Like, you guys, do your thing, please, because whatever you do to screw Bernie is going to help us. And that's the reality. I mean, the political overlords think they know better, but the thing I've learned over the last 4 years, and starting during the campaign and just spending so much time on the ground and in like real places. Not like our bubble in New York City here. And it's like, people actually understand what's going on much better than anyone wants to give them credit for. I mean, they actually get it. There are people that are out there that, understand this, and everyone sort of wants to treat them as though, no, they don't know anything. We know better. We're going to force feed them what they must want. Yeah. And it's not working. They get it.
Nancy Pelosi, we talked about this too, like Nancy Pelosi, or like AOC not showing up, or Pelosi ripping up the page. It just seems.
Or the guy from Ohio who was like, I left because
walked out.
The State of the Union is
that's
fake.
Like, childish.
They did some sort of polling, beforehand, and was like, oh, this is how to get a reaction. I mean, you saw the video of like Nancy Pelosi like pre-ripping the speech. Like, this wasn't, like, one thing you got to give Trump credit for, like, he's pretty good on the fly.
Yeah.
He comes up with, like, nothing he's ever done is like pre-orchestrated. It's like, he came up with it, he said it, whether you like it or not, he's just going to say it. That's what he thinks. You see the video of her like minutes before, like pre-ripping the speech, just so she doesn't have like a fail on TV of like not being able to rip 3 pages of paper. Like, and it was so contrived. And I mean, you saw her, I got to lead yet another outrage cycle last week because that video that my father posted of, you highlighted, the African-American child, who got like her scholarship of the school choice thing. Then you had the war veteran, the Tuskegee Airman, the first African-American fighter pilot, 100-year-old, I went to a friend of mine, one of the kids from Turning Point USA, Benny Johnson. I was like, he's really good with sort of the video stuff. I go, I got an idea. I want you to show my father highlighting each of these people and then rip their dreams up. Because that's what that was. I mean, it was an incredibly sort of emotional speech. It was uncharacteristically Trump in that he did highlight some of, these great American stories. And then it flashes to her ripping it up each time. I mean, she literally went to Facebook to try to get them to ban the video. And it wasn't like we doctored a video.
Right.
But that's just like, this is what she actually did. These are the American dreams she's actually ripping up. And I say, like, hey, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, like, if you're name one thing that in the last 3.5 years they've actually tried to do. Like, it's not like Trump has blocked Democrats from doing anything. They've done nothing. They've not proposed anything. They've not gone forward with anything. The reality is he's still gotten things done. I mean, he's gotten USMCA done. He renegotiated NAFTA. for the American worker. I mean, he got a trade deal done with China, despite, being sort of under the gun in impeachment. Imagine like if they worked with him and the other side didn't see sort of, these attacks on the president, you could probably make the deal even better.
Did you like that she tried to get that video banned? Because I feel like you, more so than most people in your position, you love to troll. Which I don't even think is a bad thing. When I saw you post the thing about Mitt Romney and his jeans, I was like, "Holy shit, this is."
Well, listen, the reality is, I like to have some fun. I don't. Sort of from the conservative side, where everyone was, for decades has just been such a stiff.
Yeah.
Well, I have to have the formal response on how to deal with. Shut up, dude. Like, you got to hit back.
Yeah.
And I think Trump has shown, at least one side that you can fight. And I sort of feel for decades, Republicans have played T-ball while Democrats have played hardball and played that game really well. And there's nothing they won't do, no one they won't destroy. I mean, look at what they tried to do to Brett Kavanaugh, who literally before this, the only pictures I'd ever seen of Brett Kavanaugh is him at a soup kitchen on a Sunday, serving, people food. They would take his life, his career, just destroy it for political gain. I mean, it was so serious. Such a serious, because he was obviously a gang rapist, right? That Dianne Feinstein sat on the accusations in her office for 3 months. He was such a real threat to society that they sat on it for 3 months till his confirmation hearing. What they tried to do to the Covington Catholic kids. That kid did nothing. By the way, he showed much more restraint than probably anyone we know would have, when being antagonized and agitated. But
what about that stare?
The media.
What about that evil stare he had?
Oh, it was very, very. It was a hateful stare when someone's in your face, clapping and yelling, and then you had the other groups saying all the
black
the
Israelites
stuff.
who were yelling anti-gay stuff and racist stuff at them.
But that got no coverage. But to watch the DNC and the mainstream media just literally say, "We're going to take that kid's life and we're going to ruin it for a narrative." Man, so I like that, you have someone now who's just willing to push back, not just take the bullshit and be like, okay, well, we're going to be, you can only turn the cheek so many times before you start looking like a schmuck.
How long into it? Because I think the thing I agree with your dad, the most on and the most consistently, the most 100% is the press, because they're so completely one way and unfair. What was the first thing that that he noticed where they're like, oh, they're going to paint this the way they want to paint? What was the first indication that this was not going to be as fair as you'd like it to be?
Well, I mean, honestly, the list goes on and on. I mean, it was 3 chapters of my book. Those are great examples. I like using the Covington Catholic thing because it's it was sort of woke media's holy grail, right? It was a young white male from the South who happened to be religious. We could ruin this kid's life because he's everything we hate. Why? But he just checked off so many boxes of why we're going to destroy. He wasn't some, I don't know, whatever it was. He was just the guy that this is perfect for them. The story was too good to be. I mean, the other one, honestly, the Jussie Smollett thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we talked about it when I was in on the book tour.
You've mentioned it here and there on social media.
Yeah. Every time I see Jussie pop up, I'm like, oh, there's Don's Twitter.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was the first guy, I think. Okay, maybe there was others that called it out in comedy, but I was the first guy, maybe let's call it in business or in politics. Maybe the first guy with something to lose. They can't just be like, well, I'm just a comedian. But I was the first guy that got, canceled on Instagram for being like, okay, guys, I see the outrage. I see that it's on Ellen and every show and every CNN and MSNBC, and it was a 40. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. If someone really did this, fry them.
Right.
Okay. First thing. All right. Really? This guy who's making millions as an actor got really hungry at 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and on the coldest night of the year. Mm-hmm. In Chicago, and I built a building in Chicago. I've spent lots of time. It gets damn cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Decided to go to Subway. I was like, I don't know. Today,
So
today you're probably ordering seamless. So I started asking these questions. I did
like
it on
that
Instagram.
your problem started with like, okay, let's just start with Subway.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. You know, it's great. You know what I mean? But like, really? Like you're going to go out at minus 14 or whatever it was at 2 a.m. to get a sub? Like you order seamless. That's what you do.
Like you're pretty famous, Don Jr. At 2 a.m. on a very cold night.
I'm just dealing with it.
Would you walk to a Subway?
No, I would
not.
find something else to eat at home. Like there's, you know, and then it was like, okay, so yeah, two guys, white supremacists.
Probably.
In MAGA hats.
Oh, yeah.
In downtown Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Also on the coldest night of the year. Like
at 2 a.m.
Yeah, at 2 a.m. And by the way, and they didn't get shot. They managed to live long enough to find Jussie Smollett, because they know who Jussie Smollett is, because obviously Empire has a huge audience of white supremacists.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you know, they obviously know who this guy is, and they were taking a chance that he'd be out at 2 a.m. on the coldest night of the year going into Subway. They had so much foresight that they decided to bring a twine noose, you know, breaking strength of about 2 pounds, and a bucket of bleach.
Yes.
And I'm just saying, man, and trust me, I get it. Like I was like, I know like this could go so wrong for me.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, but I'm saying, can any reasonable person, meaning if it wasn't 2019, you know, and you went back to a reasonable time in history, would you look at this fact set and be like, oh yeah, no brainer, like this definitely happened? Or would you be like, give me a freaking break? You'd call bullshit so fast. And so I did. And I was like, I just don't see this happen. And then all of a sudden, well, the cops are saying that he won't give us the phone. And then he's saying he's upset that they're actually investigating it this hard. I'm saying, wait a minute. So you're telling me he wanted the best of both worlds. He wanted them to actually not investigate. So then he could bitch and moan and say, oh, they didn't even look at, you know, this case of obvious white supremacy. And I'm, you know, and then you see the connection with the DA and the Obamas, and they're not going to pursue. And
Kim Fox,
I'm saying, oh my God, like this is insane. But meanwhile, Instagram is doing this. All these like left-wing things. Donald Trump Jr. spreading racist conspiracy. I was like, I wasn't spreading anything. I asked a freaking question.
Do you know when that first happened? At first, we get instincts as people. You just see something and you're like, that doesn't feel. It feels like bullshit. But it's like it's hard to come right out and say immediately, because you're like, God, if this guy did get attacked and it was
if you get it wrong today, if you're on my side and you get it wrong, it's over.
You're finished,
right? Roseanne had a stupid tweet. Her career is over. The other guys, like he'll get a starring role on his next show, despite the fact that he literally tried to create a race war. Tried to better, you know, that's what he was doing.
No.
I mean, imagine they'd have caught, you know, 2 young white kids that maybe fit that description. Imagine they did. They just happened to be in the area, like, you know, extreme coincidence, but it happens, right?
Especially if they had an empty bucket of bleach.
Yeah, if they had a bucket.
That would have been a really
that
strange
was never going to happen.
coincidence.
They would have never found any evidence, because that's how ridiculous the story was. But, like, imagine they found, like, someone like that. They would have destroyed these people. And he wouldn't have come out and said, hey, I was just kidding. Like, you know, that's some scary shit. And that it's happening, and that this is a mainstream guy who's out there with all these left-wing politicians, and he's hanging out with the Obamas, and he's like, you know what? This is how I'm going to get more money in my next thing, because I'm going to make myself the victim of... I'm not saying that racism isn't a real problem, okay? Like, it is. It's just not the answer to every problem that every person on the left has that, you know, well, you know, that doesn't add up. That is math. Obviously racist. Like, stop.
It's the accusations enough.
It does a disservice to those who are actually affected by real racism, because now you hear racist and you're like, okay, like, roll your eyes, move on. Like, it's probably bullshit. And it's not always bullshit. It's just when you use it as sort of the easy button of left-wing politics, like, I have no answer for that, therefore, racist. It doesn't work anymore.
We were talking about the primaries. I want to know if you guys have you spoken to the Bush family at all? Because the primaries were brutal. Your dad brought it to a whole nother level. Also the most entertaining primary season of all time. Yeah. But I found it, like, and we've talked about it on the show, astounding that there was basically an implication. Everybody falls in line for the most part. Like, it was implied that Ted Cruz's dad may have had something to do with the assassination of JFK. Ted Cruz has fallen in line. Watching everybody fall in line, but there was something so viscerally humiliating about what happened to Jeb Bush. I feel like that's the one that has not forgiven.
I've been friends with his son and stuff. I agree with that. I mean, Jeb has not. I mean, I actually, was helping his son and stuff like that. But then I'd be like literally doing a fundraiser for his son, like helping him out and endorsed him. He'd sent all sorts of thank you notes, and my father endorsed, George P., the Jeb's son. But then it was like, Jeb would come out and do this. I go, hey, Jeb, I wish you had this much of a backbone when you actually were in politics. Like everyone's it's sort of like the internet, right? Everyone's a badass like after the fact. And so, I think for the most part, they've been fine. And, like I said, George P's been good to us and decent to us. But like, Jeb just can't let it go. That I was like, finally I just put out one of these tweets that sort of, I haven't heard much since then, which was just like, to the effect of, hey, wish you would have done something then. Like, the reality is this, though. You career politicians, you spent your whole life doing this, and Donald Trump, within 2 weeks, stepped into a game with zero experience and destroyed your life's work.
That's what
just pulled it away from under you because you guys didn't have the guts to actually do the things you're pretending to have the guts to do now. Like, if only you fought the Democrats as hard as you did the Republican nominee, maybe you wouldn't be in this position. Maybe you wouldn't need a Trump to step up and say, okay, it's time to put the big boy pants on and like actually do something.
What did he do that took them? That's what I was going to ask you. What did he do that took them so off guard? Because none of them knew how to deal with him. Hillary didn't know how to deal with him. None of them knew what to do.
He has a personality. Listen, whether you like everything that he says or not, or whatever it is, like, you can look at the things he says and say, okay, fine. Like, the media does a great job of like pretending Trump isn't joking when he's joking.
Right.
You see it in print and you're like, wow, that's pretty bad. Then you see the video and it's like, I remember when they're like, oh my God, CNN, Donald Trump asked the Russians to look into Hillary. I go, really? Like, wow, when? Well, yesterday. I go, well, where? You mean in Michigan? Yeah, in Michigan. Well, at the rally? In front of 25,000? Like, I mean, he's having fun. He's doing shtick. He's doing that thing, and it's like they try to take it so seriously that they've done themselves such a disservice because any reasonable individual watching knows when he's kidding and when he's not. And
it's also
and they try to pretend that he's being serious when he's kidding, that they just sort of undercut their whole argument.
It's also difficult, I think, for career politicians in a debate setting when like Jeb Bush is like, well, my brother kept America safe, and your dad kind of implies that, well, he was somewhat responsible for 9/11. That like Jeb is sitting there going like, what the fuck just happened here? How am I supposed to come back from that?
You can see it. Listen, my dad, he also understands branding, right? I mean, he can pick out sort of someone's flaws and someone's weaknesses better than any human being alive, and like brand you on the spot in like Jeb was low energy. Jeb was low energy. And like he said it on the debate, and literally 2 days later, you see Jeb running a commercial in like New Hampshire, for the primary of him like running down the street. Like it was like, it reminded me of like sort of the Chris Farley, like, when he's doing like trying to be high energy. It's like you see that he picked out his weakness, he nailed it, and like it was over.
And when you respond to that, like when you respond to the nickname so quickly and literally, like when you want to show, look how high energy I am.
Yeah, you're never going to shake it.
That's when you know we got you.
It was over. And so like the second debate, or whatever, maybe second or third debate in the primary, you could see sort of Jeb like trying to have high energy, trying to push back. And like rather than just engage in the fight, my dad was just like, hey, Jeb, that's great. Like, good. You brought some energy to this. I like that.
It was very condescending.
And you see this guy, like, he came in with this plan. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face,
yes.
Right? Like, he came in with this plan, and Donald Trump just sort of flipped the script on him, and it was like, yeah, Jeb, I remember when you were here in the middle of the stage, you're about to fall off, like, and it was over.
Your dad gets sensitive, too, though. I feel like he was very sensitive when that picture came out of him the other day, where his hair was getting blown back, and you can kind of see the orange outline around his face.
I didn't actually see the reaction to it. I've been on the road so much, but like the reality is, he does at times, but I also think that, if there's someone who's capable of actually making fun of himself, it's Trump.
He has been roasted. It's funny people have a sense of humor. He's been roasted twice. He got roasted on Comedy Central, and he got roasted by the Friars Club. Like, I don't think any other candidate on that level has been attacked by comedians twice and sat through it.
He also made a lifetime of being, like, when he was a celebrity. You know what I mean? People have always been making...
But it was different then. Then it was almost like, hey, fine, you can do that. It's in good spirits. Like, here, it's literally just vicious. It is a lot different, right? I mean, if you look at what they did to him, if you look, as we said, like, Hunter Biden is totally off limits. You can't touch the 50-year-old son of the vice presidential candidate. You can't talk about him and making millions from Ukraine. But Barron Trump at 14 is totally fair game. You know what I mean? You can go after him all you want.
Or even the venom towards Ivanka. Like you don't have to agree with her, but like some of the venom coming towards her from people in showbiz and it's like if you spoke that way about any other candidates.
Yeah, if you put Ivanka and Chelsea Clinton in a room together and you said those things about Chelsea, like it'd be over. But like, you couldn't even really, like, there was not a, and again, I'm from New York, right? So it's like there was not a New York like leftist like celebrity type that 3.5 years ago didn't want their daughter to turn out like Ivanka. Okay? She was at all of those parties. She was the guest of honor from all of these people. And then all of a sudden it's like now, oh no, she's terrible. Like, give me a break, guys. Like, stop.
Does it ever, do you think it ever bothers your dad like that? Like the fact that like, yeah, I know that's part of the game, but is there ever moments where it's like you think it actually gets to him? Like, man, I can't believe these people have just kind of, now they dislike me and I was friends with them at one point.
Like I said, when he looked at me and said, now we find out who our real friends are, I think he got it. Like, the reality is not that many people have that much resolve. Most people are sheep. They're not going to buck the trends. They don't want to take that venom. And so they fall in line. And, that line in this world where we live here, New York or whatever, it's like, well, if you're not on the left, you're crazy. Like, the reality is he didn't need this job, but he did it for the other Americans that aren't those people. So, while he was a part of that scene and maybe enjoyed some of it, like, I think the reality is I've been calling him sort of the blue-collar billionaire for 25 years. I used to get shit for calling him that because they were like, oh, yeah, what could he? I'm like, okay, now you see it. Like,
he does seem, though, that he really values loyalty because it seems like that's the thing that gets him, right? Like when he feels like somebody has betrayed him or somebody goes against him in this world, right? That somebody that was with him while he was the president either goes against him or there's leaks in the White House or whatever it is. That's when you see him going on those rampages on Twitter. That's when you see him get really pissed off.
I think, listen, he's an old school guy that way. I mean, he values those kind of things that, in this day and age don't mean as much to as many people. Like, I mean, he sort of, values the meaning of a handshake in the old school, where we're not just like, today we're just, okay, shake hands and then go do whatever you want and let the lawyers break it up. And I mean, he's sort of old school that way. So, he does, it probably does bother him more than it does most. When someone does betray your trust. And
Roger Stone too had this. Your dad tweeted, and 4 prosecutors quit, and then it turns out one of the people on the jury, like it turned out they had like kind of mocked Roger's arrest. They don't like your father.
Well, no. This was a Democrat that ran for Congress on a anti-Trump and he ends up on the jury, and no one says anything. And then Roger Stone gets 9 years. Now, I'm not saying what he did was right. The reality is Roger Stone wasn't involved in our campaign at all. Like, they try to make him out so they could just hurt someone close to Trump world. Like, I never even saw Roger Stone on our campaign, I don't think, right? But, like, sort of, I feel like Roger Stone's one of those guys that was trying desperately to be relevant, so he was in a dark room throwing darts, and he actually hit something, and then they called him in, and then he was stupid to lie about it. But, like, pretending that, these prosecutors are these are just humble public servants who are... These are partisan hacks in so many cases. I mean, that's the problem with D.C. It's filled with these people. It's sort of like the whistleblower, right? The whistleblower, there was one of the lead outrage cycles was, I apparently outed the whistleblower, which was interesting because all I did was...
that's right.
I remember this one?
Yep.
Because I outed him because I retweeted an article that had his name in the title of the article. It was sitting on Drudge Report for 4 days. I'm like, what do you mean I outed him? It's literally in like mainstream print, like on the largest news, website of the world for 4 days. Like, I didn't, and I'm like, wait a minute. It's not that I outed him. It was that now that you see his name, like regular people, not the DC elite who all knew who it is. Like, let's stop pretending that this is a secret, guys. Come on, give me a freaking break. But now that you know who he is, regular people can do a little Google search and be like, oh, he's a protege of Susan Rice. Oh, he's buddies with McCabe, who lied to Congress but did not get in trouble for it because he's on their team, right? Oh, wow, this isn't good. He's the guy that's in the photograph, with the whole Obama-Susan Rice team crying in all black in front of the Oval Office the day after my father won the nomination. Oh, he's Joe Biden's guest at the state dinner. Hey, that's not so good. This guy isn't, the humble public servant who's dedicated his life. Give me a break, guys. He's a fucking partisan hack, and that's all he is. And there's a lot of them in D.C. I'm not saying there aren't others on this side, but, on the Republican side, but like the leftists seem to dominate this world, and they've done a good job entrenching them, and they will do whatever they can to stop someone who's a threat, okay, to that, sort of deep state, elite political unit, frankly, on both sides. And Trump is that. I mean, he came in from the outside. He's blowing these things up. He's calling this shit out. And like, this is an existential threat to their existence this way. They've created these little fiefdoms, and they have total power, and they can get away with anything. Like I said, half the people on the other side have literally lied to Congress. Look at the FISA stuff. Look at what Comey did. And he runs around in the media. Oh, no, this guy's great. I was like, he's literally leaking classified stuff then he lies about it. And then when they catch him lying about it, the headline is written incorrectly so that they can say, oh, this is incorrect. It's a freaking joke.
The New York Times changed the headline. Like, there was something they said, it was Trump said something in his message, and it wasn't a bad headline, and they changed it because they got crap.
They got canceled by their own readership because it wasn't against Trump enough. And that's the point. There's no more pretense of objectivity, right? No one's pretending that, hey, we're just reporting the news anymore, right? Al-Baghdadi, right? The founder and leader of ISIS, okay? The guy that was, Osama bin Laden's right-hand man.
Are you pro or anti?
I'm a huge fan
okay.
Of where he is now. My father kills him, right? Sends, Conan down the tunnel. The guy blows himself up. Great. This is something that every reasonable American should be able to agree is a good thing for the world. I mean, this is a guy, you'd think the media would be outraged, who literally put people in cages, doused them with gasoline, and lit them on fire.
Drowned them?
This is a guy, drowned them. He threw gay guys off buildings. This is not a good guy.
Right.
The Washington Post, I don't mean like Vox or some, left-wing rag that, you can't, The Washington Post headline, his obituary, an austere religious scholar. Like, this is some guy praying in a cave, and he's a wonderful guy. Like, he's just a little misunderstood.
It really was psychotic that they had that. They changed that, too. I think they got pressured into changing that.
Yeah.
But that was their first thought. Not this guy's a terrible person who killed me. We're going to make him good because Trump got him. It's sick, guys. There's no way of looking at that reasonably and saying, okay, this was an error. They changed the title on that one 3 different times. And again, if it's a title that's even remotely fair, they get canceled by the left. And so they have to change it to make it worse about Trump. And half the time you see these titles and it's like, man, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Then you read the article and be like, oh, that's not so bad. The title is, and that's, partially Twitter's fault. I mean, we live in a world of 280 characters or less, and honestly, no one plays in that game better than perhaps, me or my father at this point, at least from, our side of the table. But
yeah, you adapt to it.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, so, and again, that's why the book was sort of fun to write, because it's like, wow, I can actually go long form on this. I can rail against, communism and socialism as someone who lived through some of that. That's the outrage cycle today. I said it on Hannity last night, right? Talking about my mother escaped communism. I actually have experience with this. Mm-hmm. I saw pictures of my parents' wedding, and my grandfather is the only one there. I'm like, where's my grandmother? I was like, well, they wouldn't let her out of the country with me. They let me out to walk my daughter down the aisle, but they wouldn't let my wife come with me because, honestly, if you got a chance to get out, you're not coming back.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, that's weird. That's sort of an interesting system. So he took me over there every year from the age of 5, and I've waited in those bread lines, and that's what they're outraged about today. He didn't do that. He was in Prague and there was no bohemian Prague back in the day, but I wasn't. I was in literally a factory town, 4-hour drive, 3.5, 4-hour drive east of Prague. I wasn't in some beautiful metropolis. my grandfather was an electrician, in communist Czechoslovakia. My grandmother was like a telephone operator. Like, it wasn't like I was getting some sort of royal treatment when I was over there.
It's like you're a blue-collar billionaire.
Yeah, I was, well, perhaps.
Right?
But like I experienced that stuff growing up, and they were like, you got to see this. So when I see sort of the rise of socialism and communism on the other side, yeah, I get it.
Right, it's a scary thing to you because you've seen what that looks like as an extreme.
100%. But more importantly, like, I understand that in 2020, Jim, I'm not allowed to have an opinion, I'm a white guy from a rich family who's obviously, been given everything I could possibly. I can't voice that opinion. I'm not allowed to have it. Whatever it is diminished greatly, even if I'm right. So they try to do that nonsense. But like the reality is, I have sort of an interesting story in that I've seen this stuff. I've been there. I spent 6-8 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks every summer there for my entire childhood.
Yeah,
like I get it.
Yeah.
And
what do you think? I wanted to go back to Roger Stone for a second. I'm sure obviously you don't know, right? But if you had to guess, do you think your dad's gonna eventually pardon him?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, Roger Stone was running around, saying that I'm going to be indicted again. Roger Stone's one of those guys looking for attention.
Right, okay.
He would do whatever he could for attention. So, I mean, he'd get on TV saying that I'd be indicted for whatever it was, but he had no real knowledge of what was going on. He wasn't actually involved in these things, but, it got him on TV. I think that was part of his own problem, and, part of so many people's problems, right? They do whatever they can for attention, but then finally, every once in a while, the dog catches the bus. Right? So he must have hit on something that got them to call him in.
Right.
Then you lie about it. I mean, that's the reality. That's what they tried doing to me. Don't forget, I did 30 hours of testimony for a 20-minute unsolicited meeting.
Were you nervous about that? No, even if you know, right? So you meet with these people and you know what the laws are, in your opinion. I mean, it's on the up and up, right?
Yeah.
And obviously the fact that if it wasn't
question.
on the up and up, they would have gotten you. But when you have to talk about it when you have to talk about it for however many hours.
Yeah, that's the point. It wasn't that it was anything illegal.
They're looking for that one little thing.
They're saying, well, at 12:02, we got you. It was 12:01.
You just lied about it.
And then they can say there's inconsistencies.
Correct. They ask you the same question over and over again. And that's what they tried doing. And they did it, very effective. I mean, this is where, pretty much Adam Schiff, that's what I'd be testifying in front of, House Intelligence Committee, and then I get done after 9.5 hours, and I walk outside, and I check Twitter or whatever it is, and from 10 a.m., these quote-unquote classified, 10 a.m., there's literally a play-by-play of the day. Now, with lies, then there's the leaked emails from it, where they take, one of them was about the WikiLeaks thing, which is sort of how the tie-in, where they try to tie me with Roger Stone. It was like, well, he had communications with WikiLeaks. I was like, well, or, they're like, well, here's the date of it. And I go, wow, wait a minute, what's wrong with that? There's well, that's 4 days before it became public. Well, I was like, I didn't get it 4 days before it came out. I got it 6 days after or whatever it was. So, and it turns out they took the email, and it was literally some random dude that I'd never heard of that sent to 50 emails that were some sort of iteration of our emails, and he got it right. Have you seen the WikiLeaks dump? It's like, no, but they took the one in 14. So they made, whatever, let's call it June 14th. You eliminate the 1 in 14, all of a sudden, it looks like June 4th, right? Then when you leak it, it actually became public on the 10th or the 8th or whatever it was, right?
Sure.
So it looked like I had it 4 or 6 days before the rest of the world as opposed to 4 or 6 days after the rest of the world. It was just public information. So they leaked that to CNN, huge outrage cycle. Oh my God, we got him this time. I'm saying, well, I don't know, that's crazy. It's not accurate, but they don't even print the correction, but it lets them run with a story, always dropped on Friday night so they can get it for the Sunday shows. I was a part of 4 of those outrage cycles. 2 of them, they did a retraction. A couple are well, we're standing by our source. I'm like, this is your source. You admitted it. He's on TV saying exactly the opposite. Stop.
I just watched I watched a video. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just watched a video of a guy from MSNBC trying to get you while you were having breakfast with your wife.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there and I mean, you maintained composure because it's you did answer the question. Yeah. And then it just kind of keeps going.
I've done 30 hours of testimony, and trust me, if these bastards could do something about it, if I did something wrong, if they could do it, I ain't getting the McCabe treatment. And that was the point. It was 30 hours, not about what I did, but 30 hours to ask me the same thing, hoping that I say something a little bit different that they could say, it was a perjury trap.
They want to see if they can get one inconsistency.
They want me to make a mistake. They say, okay, that guy's out there. He's loud. He's brash. we're gonna fluster him over 30 hours. We're gonna get him, and then once I'm not getting, like I said, McCabe, these guys on the other, they literally lied in front of Congress. It is known. They didn't even try to do anything to them. There was not even a thought about punishing them. It's like, it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
I would not have been given that same treatment. I'd be in jail right now.
What is was there one where you were nervous? Was there one that you were like, I said this different, but I didn't mean to? It was like, I just said it wrong. Was there anything you like?
No, I think I played
Jesus.
it. I think I played it pretty good. Like, I think the reality was this. I mean, sort of, candidly, my own lawyers were like, you got to stop being so aggressive. You got to stop being so loud, whether it was on TV. Like, they will take anything you say. I go, it's different. I mean, they're telling me, like, hey, the way to play this legally is you just go in there, you plead the fifth, that way they can't do anything. It's like, I can't do that. What do you mean? That's the right legal move. It's like, I understand. That's what they need me to do. I have to play two games. I have to play the legal game, but I also have to play the PR game. I have to win both. The other side only has to win one. Okay, by winning one, they win both. And so they're like, well, you just plead the fifth about this. Don't go back in and talk about it. I go, if I plead the fifth, there's a presumption of guilt, even if that's not the way the legal system's supposed to work. That is what mainstream media will run with. That I can't do that because I'm Donald Trump Jr. I have to go in there and I just have to pitch a perfect game. I got to go in. I got to tell the truth. I can't let them fluster me. But so even after like 2 years of this and millions in legal fees for bullshit, my own legal team came, like, honestly, you were right. Like, you had to keep pushing back because the reality is this. If I stopped pushing back, if I sat in the corner, if I rolled over and played dead, if I cried like a baby like they would want me to, like, they would show me no more mercy. They would give me no quarter. They would treat me just as bad. So at least I was able to show, their flagrant biases. I was able to call out their bullshit. I was able to put forth their lies. And even if the media is not going to cover it nearly as much, they couldn't run from it entirely. And again, I was part of so many of those outrage cycles. Michael Cohen, when he went back in and testified, I mean, I have 15 people that are like, yeah, Michael Cohen, like, he literally lied. Like, and I got guys that'll say, no, he lied. And everyone knew it, but they're not going to go after him because once you flip against Trump, you're okay.
What do you?
You're safe.
Do you think there's anything like? Because it's a culture war, and it's like people hate each other's guts.
Yeah.
It's not even just politics. It's any side you're on.
Yeah.
Twitter. Everyone hates each other. Is there anything your father can do that you think would get any portion of that other side to go, you know what? I like him more. Is there anything you think at this point that could be done to turn that a little bit?
I don't think so. Again, you saw sort of the Pelosi reaction. You saw, don't forget, like, again, the Washington Post, I keep bringing them up because, they would have been.
You mean the Amazon Washington Post?
Amazon Washington Post. They
Okay,
would have been. No,
again.
but they would have been a credible thing a couple years ago. But I mean, they wrote the article, The Case for Impeachment,
Right.
19 minutes after the inauguration. My father had been president for 19 minutes when they wrote that article. Like, this isn't Vox. This is something that you would have said, okay, wow, that's a credible thing. Like, That's how crazy it's gotten. So, the reality is this. Like they said, well, when Trump was campaigning on, hey, I'm going to get NAFTA and renegotiate it for the American worker. That'll never happen. They can't do it. It's been there for 25 years. No way. They never even tried. So as they're pushing the Russia bullshit, he actually did it. Okay? As they're signing the articles for impeachment, he signs a trade deal with China to protect our IP, to protect our farmers. Like, someone had to actually be the big boy and, like, step up and actually try to do these things rather than just getting steamrolled for decades. So you would think that someone reasonable on the other side would be like, okay, this is good for us. We needed to do this. I may not like the guy. I may not agree with everything he says. He's pretty loud. Guess what? If they spend 3 years basically trying to impeach you, attacking your family, trying to throw your family in jail, maybe that would sort of recenter how aggressive you are going to approach them and how civil you're going to be towards them. And no one sort of looks at it through that window. But that's the reality. So I'm just psyched to see that he's actually getting things done, and he's doing it despite resistance. I'd love to see him work on infrastructure. I'd love to see him do these things, but like, you literally can't name a single thing the Democrats have even tried to move forward, even on those things that they've agreed on.
The fact he gets no credit for the economy, like it's kind of like they won't give many, even for like the economy being good or people working, and they're like, well, it was trending that way.
It wasn't trending that way. It was literally a flat line. And then he got rid of regulations. He gave tax reform. He did, well, how about beyond the economy? Like, how many Democrats are giving him credit for prison reform? This isn't like a Republican Party platform thing. Opportunity zones, okay? In those like sort of, poor or urban areas, like That's not a Republican Party platform. Like, rich Republican donors aren't sitting there being like, oh, we've been waiting for this one for decades. Like, he just did it because it's the right thing to do. And he's not necessarily bound by sort of, conservative dogma or leftist dogma. He just does what's sort of right. Despite that.
The point I was making was that, like, even whichever way it's going doesn't matter, because whoever is sitting there gets either the credit or the blame. Like, so if it was trending a certain way, it didn't matter. Yeah. Like, if that al-Baghdadi thing had gone wrong, nobody would have said, hey, it was great, he was going in after him. They would have blamed him.
But if Obama got al-Baghdadi, they wouldn't call him an austere religious scholar. There'd be parades in the streets. And guess what? When Obama killed bin Laden, everyone on the right was like, this is great.
Do you remember?
We can all recognize this is a win. Okay, no one, but to watch the sort of partisan hackery of, oh, well, it's not that big a deal. Or, Soleimani from Iran. You have major generals being like, hey, whether you like it or not, like, this guy was a much more relevant player than bin Laden was at the time of it. Bin Laden was hiding for the last 10 years. It wasn't like this guy's running around the streets organizing this. He's the guy that started the IED sort of program of Iran, funded it, that maimed and killed so many American soldiers. Like, and to try to be like, oh my God, how many times has it been the start of World War III because of something Trump's done? And
many times.
Every day.
Do you remember?
If he has breakfast, it's the start of World War III. You move the embassy in Jerusalem, start of World War III.
World War III.
Billions of people were going to die on that one. Remember what happened? 2 people threw rocks for about 3.5 seconds, and it was over. Stop.
Could have been World War III. Do you remember when Obama made the announcement about killing bin Laden? Do you remember what he interrupted on television?
He did. It was The Apprentice.
The boardroom. I remember it because I was literally watching The Apprentice,
and I was happy to have the interruption because it was good
and
news.
Then Obama comes on. Now, what do you think of a guy? What did you think, I guess, of a guy like Andrew Yang? I loved Andrew Yang for a couple of reasons. Number one, the stuff he was talking about was, I felt, more relevant and different than the usual talking points of Democrat, Republican, whatever politicians. But I also really liked that he, and what Dave Chappelle was saying on his behalf, was that while everybody is sitting there, right, and they're trying to say, anyone but Trump, Trump is the devil, we hate Trump, he's like, no, if you don't like Trump, that's fine. Let's talk about the symptoms. Let's talk about the country. Let's move beyond this kind of individual that everybody's deciding this is the problem. What did you think of Andrew Yang?
Listen, I like having people from outside of the political class. I want someone in there whose turn it wasn't. You know what I mean? I think that's good. I think you saw, hey, whether you like them or not, there's not an economic metric that you can't say we're not better off today than we were 4 years ago. You don't have to like Trump. You don't have to agree with how he got there, but like he cut regulations. These things went up. If you look at the lines of the economy and all these things, it was sort of flatlined for 8 years under Obama. Literally on November 9th, it took off because, entrepreneurs, small business, big business, they all said, okay, we have someone who's not just going to try to screw us with excessive regulations and DC and having people, take part in it that have no business, running your business or deciding what to do with your money. So I like an outside. I mean, I think sort of the universal I'm going to give everyone $1,000 a month for it. Well, guess where it's coming from?
Sounds good to me.
It's not a government funded program. It's taxpayer funded. So, that's sort of, it sort of screams against everything I believe in terms of free markets. And for a guy that, talks a lot about math, this hasn't worked in other places. But I do like people challenging that convention. When you look at Joe Biden, who's, the presumptive nominee, and he's been the presumptive nominee for, 18 months. And
by the way, so is Jeb, but go on.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's precisely the point. But that's the discord between the political class and the elite. I'm looking at Joe Biden, I'm like, I don't get it, man. Every other day, he's confusing where he is. Okay, and I don't mean Iowa, Ohio. I mean, he's in Florida, and he's like, it's great to be here in Maine. Joe, it's 90 degrees. Maybe that's... if Donald Trump did that once, right? He's got dementia. It's over. He's not capable of...
his dentures were literally falling out.
Joe Biden's doing this every day. His dentures fall out on the debate stage. His eyes bleeding. His eyes starts bleeding. I'm like, this guy is the epitome of health. We want this guy to have the nuclear
football.
Do
you think he wanted to... I don't feel like he wanted to run.
Biden?
No, he wanted to run. He thought it was his turn.
He's
He's never had anyone to actually push back on him. I mean, he's been running since 1988 and never won.
Do you like his strategy of being aggressive to people who don't agree with him?
Like voters, we're telling them just go vote for someone else.
Well, but that's the point. I was like, everyone's like, oh, no, you want, Joe Biden's going to be tough. I go, Joe Biden can't handle one of his supporters asking him a question. How's he going to do with Trump one-on-one?
Was your dad worried that when Joe challenged him to a push-up contest?
Not so worried.
Or a foot race?
So it's just like, I'm looking at this thing and being like, I see Joe Biden speaking to massive groups of 15 to 20 people, and they have him, but they have him on teleprompter. I'm like, dude, guys, like,
if you can't wing that.
If after 50 years, not hyperbole, 50 years as a politician, you can't wing it to 20 people. Like, it doesn't work, guys. It's not going to work. Like, you can hide him right now when he's in a field of 17 Democrats. How's he going to do with Trump one-on-one for 6 months? Not good.
Why do you think? Because I actually liked Tulsi Gabbard. I thought, hey, she's got her own idea. She's military. Why do you think Hillary came out and did something
she's Russian?
Yeah. What do you think the motive was?
Because she's so. I mean, honestly, the only problem I guess with Tulsi running as a Democrat is like she sort of feels like a conservative, right? Like, so I imagine that's that, which is she's so far, away from so many of the Democrat. Now she's got Democrat platforms, but if you sort of look at the history, it feels like it's evolved into that as opposed to that's what she actually is. But like, she was actually saying things that make sense, which is so far from so much of the Democrat platform. I mean, but they'll herald Elizabeth Warren. Like, hey, Elizabeth Warren is not someone I'd want to have the nuclear football. Okay, this is someone who got trolled into taking a DNA test. Who based? No, but this is true, Jim.
I mean, and that's true because it was you guys doing it.
Fight me on this one. You know what I mean? Like, she got trolled into DNA. Fine, that happens, right?
She did.
But she was sitting around a table, Jim, with her top advisors, and they get the results.
Yeah.
Okay, and it said maybe 1,024th Native American. Now she got tenure. She got a big gig at Harvard for a lot of money to teach half a class for $500,000 a year. Law schools, all this stuff. Her whole life based on like Native American. And they got back an answer that said, "You are less than 0.1% Native American." And they sat around that table and said, "This is a win." Like, we got him. And I'm like, this is not a person that has judgment I want making decisions for me and my kids.
I mean, even the anti-Trump people were like,
holy shit,
this is bad.
This is just stupid. And it's because, again, if you're on that side, the mainstream media has decided that they will be your marketing team. They will never. She's never been called out. Mm-hmm. Like, so even when the answer was like, oh, look, this is a win. She got Trump. She's there. I'm like, yeah, he should. Like, stop.
I mean, it's literally the same thing as Jeb doing that commercial where he's running. She's like, Pocahontas. I'll show you.
No, it's actually worse.
You think so?
No, it's worse.
Tell me.
Because she knew what the answer was, and she didn't have to go public.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
She didn't have to go public. She could have been like, you know what? Maybe I won't push this thing that much anymore.
Right.
They had to know that was embarrassingly low.
Like, no one had to know that she actually took the test. But she took the test, got that answer, and was like, yes! I mean, we are going to own Donald Trump with this one. We won.
Did you see her?
Think of how stupid that is.
Did you see her walking? She got off a private plane. And like, hey, look, if you got to travel, you're a candidate. Just say you're doing it.
Of course.
But then she's trying to duck behind somebody because they're so...
I'm going to pretend you're not getting a picture of me coming off of this private plane. Like, I get it. Like, I have this too. I mean, when I campaign, I've done days where I've done 9 stops. You can't do that commercial.
Right.
Okay, you can't do that commercially. Now, if I'm doing fundraisers or whatever it is, fine, I can fly commercial. I fly commercial all the time. I fly commercial coach all the time. It doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. But, like, it means I can do 2 actual stops. Because that's the reality, right? I mean, I can go on a private, I can land in thing, I can get off the plane and do a rally at a hangar. Raise whatever money we're raising and get to the next one. And understanding there's a greater cost, but, the cost of the private travel is outweighed by the fact that, hey, I can do 9 events that are more than paying for this, therefore I am net ahead, therefore it makes sense. But it is ironic when they're screaming and, all the people in Hollywood, like, guess what? When you go to the Oscars or you travel to New York for an award show, like, that's one trip. Like, you don't need to fly private. You don't need to go on your own plane, but they all do.
They do. It's more comfortable.
And then they get to scream at regular people for, having a car that has, an extra cubic inch of engine capacity, and they're terrible people. Like, stop, guys, you're full of shit.
Do you think? Because it's interesting how there's been this thing with your dad and Greta Thunberg. I mean, she's 17. I think I'm saying her name right. Does he dislike her, or because he spoke nicely of her? He spoke nicely of her at something I saw recently. He was like, I would love to have heard her speak. Like,
for the record, there's no thing with her. The media tries to create a thing with her, but the reality is this: like,
He did imply that she doesn't seem like she likes to have fun for a kid.
I don't think she does. But like, I don't think, but like, you have someone who, like they've said, has, these like learning disabilities, and you could see like, this is just someone that they put forward. They're like, it was like Mueller, right? They picked someone that, this person's above reproach. You can't go after her. We're going to give her sound bites. Like, once you make yourself a political person, like, you then can't be like, you can't attack that person. She's 17 and autistic or whatever it is that she is. Like, well, guys, like, you're spoon-feeding her these lines. You're traveling her all over the world. Every leftist in the world's like, we got to get behind. It was like Robert Mueller. They picked Robert Mueller. He's beyond reproach. He was the head of the FBI. He was a guy he was a war veteran. Trump can't attack him. Then you see him testify, and you're like, holy shit, did this guy even read the Mueller report? Like, he was just a pawn. He was put in there because, like, it's just all marketing. And that's the scam that people are sick of. I mean, the fact that, like, Greta Thunberg, with the notes that people put in front of her and a soapbox that the media has built up becomes like Times Person of the Year, and not the people that are literally protesting the communist regime in Hong Kong, risking their lives, taking on the Chinese government. Like, they get like an honorable mention somewhere. Like, stop, guys. It's bullshit.
I do like that she's a teenager doing something. Like, everybody does complain about teenager. And
by the way, 100%. But, like, again, is it her or is it a well-choreographed marketing machine using her?
I'm going to guess it's a combination. I'm going to guess she's sincere, but I do believe that as she's gotten more and more famous, people are like, let's see if we can get her, let's try to get our narrative. But I think she's probably just as, typical teenager. She believes something real strongly.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Listen, I'd love teenagers to get more involved, and you see that. But, like, the reality is, like, teenagers today are sort of blindly taking the points that are being spoon-fed to them by, like, leftist academia and just, like, running with it. Like, the only kids that are actually brave today are, like, conservatives on college campuses, because they're not just, they're making up their own minds. They're not just being indoctrinated.
Have you done, like, interviews with people? Because it's always weird when you meet someone face-to-face. Like, it's always an odd thing. Like, I've attacked people and then met them, and I was like, I'm a dick. Have you met people who've attacked you and then done interviews with them, and at the end you're like, you know what? That person is actually okay, and you can feel them?
Honestly, like, I actually, surprisingly enough, and, I understand we're on different sides and whatever it is, like, I actually have pretty decent relationships in, like, mainstream media, with people that are definitely not on my side, that definitely sort of, take, a lot of shots at us. But I think, there's still relationships there. And I think because of that, and, hey, I'm pretty open and honest. Like, there's a reason. Hey, not a lot of guys in my position are coming on this show. Like, I've been doing O&A with you guys for years.
Actually, 0 guys in your position. Just you.
Yeah, because, like, the reality, I'll take those chances. I really, there's not a lot of upside. It's not like I'm getting people onto my side by doing it. And frankly, shit, from the O&A days, there were things that would come. Donald Trump Jr. said this. I was like, wow, that's, like, they don't put it in the they make it seem like I said this at the State of the Union, as opposed to, like, I said it while, like, literally promoting a reality show
on a comedy show.
On a comedy show where, like, yes, I get it. I know I'm not allowed to have a personality or say something, but they run with it as though it's gospel. So, but no, there are people that, there's just not that many of them, man. There's so many people you think you have that relationship with in media. It's like, okay, well, hey, I'll talk off the record. I've never lied to you, yada, yada, yada. And then they sort of take that and betray that trust. That's happened a lot to me.
Yeah.
And so it does make you put your guard up with people that you did otherwise perhaps have a decent relationship with and whatever. And I don't feel that trust is betrayed on the other side. It's only like, well, because we can get Trump, it's worth it.
Who do you think is the fairest person or the most honest person that clearly doesn't like you? Like, in the press, I mean. Like, is there a guy that, even though he might get it wrong,
okay, you
think he has integrity? She has integrity?
There's a couple. And the only problem is if I say that, and I don't want to give the name because I've seen that. Like, I've gotten, whether it's, a couple times, whether it's the Washington Post, New York Times, like, they write even a reasonable article on me, meaning, I'm not, amazingly enough, I'm not actually, a neo-Nazi white nationalist, like, whatever. And it's like, you watch them get canceled by their own people. just for being
Right.
objective or not, or saying, hey, someone wrote an article about me. New York Times wrote an article about me and like sort of my social media presence and how it's sort of become at least on our side, a pretty big phenomenon. And I was one of the most impressioned probably conservatives, even as a non-politician, other than my father. And it's like, it sort of came out of nowhere. So it was somewhat complimentary in the sense, but it wasn't anything that wasn't demonstrably accurate based on, measurable matrices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, they get destroyed. So it's sort of funny. I don't even want to give their names because then if you have a relationship that you can utilize to say, hey, this is what actually happened as opposed to this, and maybe they give you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because you've never lied to them. If I actually out
It
that
makes it
person
harder
now,
for them, yeah.
they literally almost have to go harder just to not get canceled by their own following.
Did you get a, be honest, as you always are, a quick hot flash of embarrassment when you're going through your Twitter account and you read that your dad congratulated the great state of Kansas on their Super Bowl win?
Yeah. But, I think that's what's funny is like the reality, like Donald Trump doesn't pretend to not be real. So it doesn't matter. I mean, like, I think Donald Trump, if you know him and, I think he's probably done plenty of this, but like he is able to joke about those kind of things. He is able to sort of, own a mistake. He's the guy that you want to kind of have a beer with because you're going to get something interesting. It's not, here are the talking points.
Mm-hmm.
I will read them to you. And they have, it's different than a Mike Bloomberg, right?
Who in his life can say that? Because he's a guy who doesn't seem like he gets bossed around by anybody. Who in his life can say to him, don't?
Yeah,
I think
who would
we
be
all
the one
can.
to reach out to him and go like, it's not Kansas.
It's not. Like, who do you think is comfortable
I
enough?
think any one of us, the kids or whatever, obviously Ivanka's there and in the admin, she could probably do that. But like, I could call him and be like, hey, by the way. And he would be like, he would literally laugh and like, okay, yeah, I probably got to delete that one. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, he's not pushing back on it as though I think he'll just own those mistakes, and I don't think he pretends to be perfect that way.
I didn't know a president could delete. I thought there was a thing that they couldn't delete tweets, and then he deleted that one. I'm like, I guess you can. I didn't know that. I thought there was like the record has to be.
No, well, listen, the internet is forever, right? That's why you see all these people that are, that now you go back. I mean, that's how they got that Roger Stone juror. They go back on the Twitter feed and be like, how did this person pass any sort of reasonable screening? Like, this is a person that ran for Congress that was vehemently anti-Trump, literally on the jury of a guy that, the media is heralding as this, Trump, supporter, even if he didn't have that much of a role. Like, stop. Like,
what do you think? Because like when your dad ran, and I'm sure this will be part of him running again, the whole point is still anti-establishment. We've been talking about it the whole time, like from separated, whatever. The fact that now I feel like every time you open your mouth, there's somebody that talks about you becoming the president of the United States of America. People are chanting it when you're at one of these rallies you were talking about. They're talking about it on the TV shows you go to. The idea that what was this sort of outsider revolution regime thing is could be a dynasty, and there are people who are supporting the idea that after 2020, going into 2024, should your dad be successful, or who knows, maybe should he not be successful, you just wait 4 years and try
Or maybe
it
you
anyway.
run in 2020.
hey, Dad, I got good news and bad news.
You've seen the way this works out, right? You've seen 4 years of it or so. Is that something that you could see in your future down the road looking past 2020?
Listen, I've enjoyed the game. I do.
It seems like you do enjoy
I do.
it.
No, listen, I like it. When they start, hey, I'm not gonna lie, right? It's sort of cool if you're at a stadium of 15,000 people and they start chanting 46 when you're speaking. It's like, now, listen, my only focus is getting my father reelected, right?
Yes.
Because I believe he's doing the right things for America. Again, I like the fight. I think, for better or worse, I got that sort of Trump gene that can handle sort of that pressure aspect that doesn't bother me if people are pushing back and writing bad. Like, I'm not that fazed by it. I don't know that I'd like the day job. And that's a big part of it, right? Campaign, I got to make sure I would want that in time. So, it's an honor. I mean, it's, I can't say that doesn't feel good, but, I have no plans for it right now. People are always like, oh, he's running. I go, no. I just can't say no, because in this day and age, if I say, I'm not going to do that. Oh, 12 years later. No, you're a liar.
12 years ago, you went on Jim Norton and Sam Roberts and said you weren't going to do this.
Therefore, you can't do it. Like, I don't want to be that guy. But like, listen, I see the results, man. And again, whether it's sort of my hobbies, hunting, fishing, shooting, all the stuff. I have seen middle America, and it wasn't like I just magically appeared there, once we got into politics. Like, I have friends all over the place there because that's sort of where I spend my free time. I'm actually probably much more comfortable there than I am in New York City. Like, you don't see me on like the New York City sort of like BS, like rubber chicken, charity dinner bullshit circuit, like, where everyone just goes kisses their own asses. It's like, it's not me. It never has been. So, I think I get it. And so when I go around those places and I see the results and I see these people, I said it last night, like, you see like a grown man, like, come up, like, hey, like, I was able to start this business because of these policies, because of what, like, see a grown man in tears talking about this, or like, man, in New Hampshire, it was sort of interesting because I go just by chance, like in between stops where I was going to like thank people who are working on our teams to be like, okay, let's go to this coffee shop. We just got to, get some caffeine. I don't want to be called low energy Jeb. You go in there and like, we went into one.
Got another one.
Still a Trump, guys. Come on, give me a break. Go into this coffee shop and, 23-year-old female, just got out of like culinary school and like she literally started her own business. She's got this great coffee shop, and I'm like, coffee shop, female, young, like this is not. I love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for like making this possible for me in this town, which I never thought. Like, man, it is awesome.
Right, it
like,
feels rewarding.
It really feels good, and so like I said, my father didn't need this job. But, the fact that he's getting the results that he's had, and again, it's not like what the media tries to portray it. I mean, you saw that they're literally doing, talks in the DNC to try to be able to come up with ways that they can talk to their constituents to tell them the economy is not that good. Like, guys, when you're doing that, it means you've lost. This issue is not, that they're trying to figure out ways to make it not as good as it actually is. Like, that's pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's the reality, man. It is good, and people are benefiting from it. And, and it's not just, billionaires with stock portfolios. Like, how's your 401k doing? How's your 401k doing? Like,
yeah.
The regulations that have done this, all-time low unemployment numbers for African Americans, all-time high startup numbers for female businesses, for African American businesses, for Hispanic businesses. Like when I see him at the State of the Union, he says those things. And the Congressional Black Caucus refuses to stand or clap. Like, is that not something? Like, are we that far deranged? Is Trump derangement syndrome like that far set in that we can't all acknowledge that is a good thing, whether you like, the guy that implemented the policies that got that to happen? Like, if Obama did that, they'd anoint him emperor for life. They'd be talking about it all day long. And it's like, oh, Trump did it. We're going to pretend that didn't happen.
Who arranges the seating at that? Okay, there's an issue. Stop seating all the conservatives and all the liberals. Like, if they just mixed everybody up, it would just be so awkward standing and sitting.
That'd be kind of funny. Like, you control your neighbor. Like,
mix it up. They should mix it up a little bit because it's just the insincerity of all the politicians standing to agree or not. It's almost like you don't buy any of it. It's like
right.
If the press gave your dad any credit for the good things he's done, which was the economy is great, people are worried, then people might listen a little more when they said something negative. But I don't listen to any of the stuff because they don't give him any credit for the good.
By the way, I agree. It's sort of like what we talked about with the racism. When you hear the same, it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? Yep. When you hear the same thing over, like you start sort of ignoring it.
Yeah.
So they're hits, and hey, some of them may be founded. Some of them may actually, but like when it's so far and so extreme, and like you take what was once a rational thought and you morph it so like vicious, like you're like, come on, like stop. I think the media themselves have really, no one's done more to discredit the media than the media itself. And so, they've stopped having, that effect. But the fact that they literally can't give Donald Trump credit for anything, like, I think that real people see through it, man. I think that they get it. Now, again, it's still a powerful force. You got a multi-billion-dollar mainstream media complex who says 96% negative things about Trump, and yet you still have those sort of records. Like, I don't know. For a guy like me who lives it every day, like, I see through it. But, like, for the guy that's consuming 5 minutes of news a day, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's actually still blinded by that. So I imagine that's sort of their game plan to try to screw him over, over the next 10 months. And honestly, there's probably going to have that. There's probably some effect to that we have to overcome. Like, you don't get that same attacks from, I use the Biden example with Hunter Biden. Like, Joe, do you think, Jim, that the media would have a problem if Donald Trump Jr. was over in the Ukraine right now, sitting on a board of a Ukrainian oil company, making $83,000 a month?
I think they'd be very fair about it.
Thank you for your honesty, Jim Norton. Like, they won't cancel you for being truthful, okay? Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Come on, they'd go crazy.
I thought crazy. I was watching the news. I thought you already were.
Well, by the way, that's the thing. Like, I say, like, in the book, I talk about it. I go, like, the reality is this, like, when I used to come on this show, like, we were actually international business people.
Right.
That's what we did. That was a big part of what I did. And when my father won, we said, fine, we will not do new deals going forward. Now, if we have an asset abroad, like, you can't just dump it. You can't just sell it. Or if you're in the middle of building a building. But we said, hey, from this day forward, we will not do new deals. And we haven't. And the media, they're enriching themselves abroad. I'm like, but you're really silent about the other side. You're really silent about, Hunter Biden making millions from a Ukrainian. He doesn't speak Ukrainian, and he doesn't know anything about energy. Like, why is he there? I mean, he did that ABC interview. Did you see that one? Like, where they had weeks to prep it and choreograph it. Like,
who, Joe did or
Hunter? And they're like, well, so why were you there? He's like, oh, man. Like, he didn't even think he was going to be asked the question.
And you have no tolerance for it because you did your 30 hours.
Well, that's my point. Like, I get it. Like, I've been pretty vicious.
Yeah.
Against him. But, like, I sort of feel like, I don't know, guys. Like, this guy's the start of the Ukraine problem. And, we don't need to hear from him. Like, there's nothing. I'm like, I did 30 fucking hours. 30 hours. Okay? And on a 20-minute unsolicited meeting, by the way, paid for by the DNC. No one even talks about that, right?
Yeah.
Set up and paid for by the DNC. Because I'd looked at a deal when we were international business people. So I said, yeah, that's your business guy. You take a meeting, right? That's what you do. Right? So that's a problem that merits 30 hours of testimony. But him, while his father's on tape saying, if you don't stop investigating my son's company that he's on the board of and making millions from, I'm going to pull billions in aid from you. Oh, yeah, that's totally legit. So, yeah, I take it a little bit more personally because I've been the recipient of how vicious it is. I've been the recipient of that hatred, of that mainstream media complex. So when I see them doing nothing, I'm like, guys,
doesn't seem fair because
like I said, I don't care. Like, if you want to play hardball, play hardball.
Right.
If you want to play softball, play softball. But we got to be playing the same game, folks.
It's got to be consistent.
That double standard is so flagrant, it's disgusting. And so I will spend a lot of time highlighting it.
Do you guys ever panic a little bit when Rudy Giuliani butt dials somebody? Is that like, oh my God, what are you doing? It happens to all of us, but these are like high-level conversations.
That's supposed to happen to Rudy.
Yeah, well, listen, I like Rudy. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a great guy. I mean, but that's the problem with some of this world, right? Like, even when I was going through myself, like, Rudy wasn't part of my legal team. They're separate and whatever, and they'd ask him a question about my thing, so he'd sort of give an off-the-cuff answer, but he may not have actually known the details. I'm like, that's wrong. Crap. Now I got to fix this.
Yeah.
But, like, you
Does
gave an
anybody
answer
tell
because you're
Rudy,
on
like,
TV and you're sort of expected to give an answer.
Instead of saying, I don't know.
Instead of saying, I don't know, it's like, hey, what's the diameter of the sun? Well, it's this. Well, I don't really know.
But shouldn't he just say, I'm not his lawyer. I don't speak for.
I agree, but but you're sort of part of other things, and so people make that mistake, and that's and then the media gets to seize on that. So I don't like any of that game. I wish the game was such that it was based on actual fact.
It's weird
and based on an objective standard, but it's not, and so you just sort of have to play. It's like, hey, I get that the rules are skewed against me and us, and I just got to play that game. That's fine, and we're gonna just fight harder, and that's why. Trump's the unique phenomenon. He doesn't just roll over and die because the other side wants him to. Now, Jeb would have. Right? But it's different. Like,
snuck on the
Gotcha, Jeb.
No, but okay, fine. Of the other 17 Republican candidates during my father's primary, like, who would have stuck with Kavanaugh?
Right.
Who? No, just name one person who would have been like, you know what? I'm going all in. To say that, when the left is there and you have Blasey Ford, he's winning all sorts of, you don't remember when, you don't remember the year, you don't remember how, but you knew he was a serial gang rapist and he magically made it to, the Court of Appeals and he's like, stop.
But isn't it weird that, like,
no one would have stuck with, I put the over-under at 1 second. Before everyone else folded. And by the way, if they would have folded, it doesn't just mean he's not on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It means you destroyed his career. You destroyed his life. You destroyed his family. And I think that's sort of the point is there is nothing, just like the Covington kids, there's nothing that the leftists, like, there in D.C., There's nothing that they hold sacred. There's nothing or no one that they wouldn't destroy to try to further their political ideology. And I know, and that's sad. That's a sick place we're in. But like, we're just gonna destroy this guy. And like, hey man, whether you like him or not, Trump stuck by him, and that's not easy. And there were plenty of conservatives saying, hey, like, okay, it's time to pull the ripcord on this one. It's like, I can't do that.
Trump, I think that your dad might have a similar thing about people that he perceives are against him, that I don't think that there's much sacred ground that your dad wouldn't trample over if he said, this is somebody who's against me. I don't care who it is. I mean, we were just talking about the fact that he's the one guy who doesn't, the above reproach thing doesn't apply to. He's not going to
ruin a child's life to try to put forth his agenda. That's not what, it's not, he'll go after the individual. He'll go after the individual and like, hey, like I said, why was it me? How come I was the guy that needed to start calling out Hunter Biden? How come, like, it would be nice if there was a business, let's call it an industry, whose job it was to look into these things and to report to people what's going on in the world. It would be nice if there were.
Are you talking about news media?
Yeah, like something like that. Like, it would be nice if that existed.
I see.
How come I'm the guy that has to be like, hey guys, I'm gonna look at this and call bullshit?
There were moments where it looked like he was going to get there was times where we'd have like these dinners where like, I think a breakfast with Zucker showed up and it looked like he was going to, like that relationship was going to get fixed and then it just falls apart
again.
But
the problem is even with like something like a Facebook, and again, I've been one of the guys sort of, really pushing sort of the censorship issue in these things where they're trying to have it both ways. A lot of Republicans, frankly, didn't even realize this is an issue with, their base where they're like, what do you mean? If you're a Second Amendment guy, if you're, sort of devoutly religious, like, these people are getting shadow banned and demonetized and deplatformed and all of these, like, it's a real thing. But you notice, like, you've never heard one person on the left ever bitch about being like deplatformed on a social, regardless of how extreme what they say. But like, I like guns. Oh, that's over. You're, all of a sudden your following is in half the next day. So I've been one of those people, to call out those things. And the problem is this: when you have, even if Zuckerberg was going to try to be objective, I don't think he is. I think he sort of believes most of that side. But even if he wanted to be a little bit impartial, the problem is they have like 75,000 employees that are, literally the epitome of, woke culture. I don't even know what that means because it changes every day, Jim, as you know. Like, what's woke today is like tomorrow it's alt-right, right? There's the goalposts never stop moving.
Well, it's the landmines that just keep getting tossed out as you're walking.
Yeah, we'll throw it. Like, what would have been
It is funny, though, that it's either one or the other, too. It's like, well, if it's not woke, then it's alt-right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like, you pick one. There's two bins.
Yeah. If I don't like you, you're a Nazi. Like, okay, I don't know. I mean, they've called me that. I'm like, wow, that's going to be really awkward. Like, Jared's an Orthodox Jew. My sister is an Orthodox. Like, Thanksgiving's going to be really awkward. If
when they find this out.
Guys, I like you, but we got a little problem. We got to stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Again, everything is so extreme. There's not like I disagree with on policy. It becomes the personal hit. And I get it. We are guilty of that too. I'd be the biggest hypocrite in the world. But like, I got to play, in on the battlefield that I'm given, and I'll play. I'm not afraid of that. That's, again, that's why I'm here, because I'm not afraid to, put myself out there a little bit, understanding that there's, probably no upside and there's only downside, right? But I do it anyway. And it's sort of like why my father did what he's doing. He got that there's no upside as a business guy to go do this and to say what needs to be said and piss off half of the country. Like, but like sometimes you just got to man up and be like, or, woman up, sorry, because otherwise I'm a misogynist.
Person up.
Yes.
Person who identifies as a person up.
Person up, yes. And do what needs to be done.
It does help you, though. It does help you gain that base, that when there is that part, a lot of times when you get half the country to hate you, at the same time, you're getting half the country to love you. You know what I mean? I think that being so combative is what has built your guys' base.
Well, I think without question, at least partially, but I think that's more because of the nature of that, right? It's no secret that the media has been left-leaning for a long time. Now, I think it's gone haywire, right? It's gone so much further than that. But like, I think the people on our side, they've watched for decades while they get trampled for turning the other cheek. The other side, we're going to be nice, we're going to be reasonable, we're going to be loose, and we're going to freaking lose. I think they got sick of that, so they were like, wait a minute! Like, someone's going to actually push back on bullshit. Like, someone's actually, like, what? I can get behind this. Because I'm sick of turning the other cheek and losing each and every time, even if we feel that we're right. And I think that's what gave you Trump.
Well, even on CNN, like this was like it's unnecessary edits. Like I think he was in Japan, and there was something where they were dumping food for the fish, and they made it look like, oh, look at this clown, he did it at the wrong. Like they literally edited the video.
He didn't take a pinch, but what they don't show is 5 seconds before the Prime Minister of Japan, Abe, literally dumps his thing in.
Yes.
So Trump does what the Prime Minister of Japan does, and they're like, oh, he should have been like. Stop, and then they get caught, and then it's like, oh, and just stop trying to make everything an own. When you're trying so hard to own him with each and everything that he does, like it loses its efficacy.
Right, just wait for it. Wait for it.
Hey,
pick your spot.
He'll make a mistake.
Oh yeah,
and then you can pounce. But like, if you gave him some credit when he doesn't, like. You could actually have a real own as opposed to like having to do the retraction or having to have, all of social media like pounce on you and, call you out for your BS and watch your ratings go because you've made a political decision to be the anti-Trump network as opposed to a news network.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy how they keep saying he's ruining the media, but all he's doing is pointing out stuff. Like all he's doing is pointing out what I've always hated about them. It's like, and they just can't stop doing it. It's almost like now it's a contest and they can't stop doing it.
No, listen, I sort of joked the other day and I think it was true. So like Donald Trump's superpower is getting other people to expose, their insanity.
Yeah.
Like, he sort of does his thing, but drives them crazy.
Sam said it the other day.
After the State of the Union, I said that the one thing that he does better than anybody else is bring out the worst in people. That's the first thing I thought. When I saw Pelosi ripping up the speech, I'm like, whoever side you're on here, you're supposed to be the one that we look to because you're calling out the president for doing stuff like that. Once you do stuff like that, you've become a hypocrite.
Correct, but okay, fine. So I think we're in agreement, whether it is politically or not. But like in this instance, we're in agreement, and you're not exactly a right wing, alt-right guy, Jim, right? Like we're in agreement that was the wrong move, right? By Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Who called her out in media?
I mean, she was. I heard her called a hero.
Yeah, she was called a hero. Oh, she's standing up. No, stop.
But that's
no reasonable individual, no thinking being. Was thinking that, like, that's wonderful. She did like some sort of focus group to be like, how can I get the most attention on media these days? And the media went for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
No one said, hey, it's totally inappropriate. Like they tried to say, well, Trump didn't shake her hand. I'm like, I'm looking at the video, like, he didn't shake Mike Pence's hand either. He handed the things over and was turning around. She extended his hand as he's looking like 90 degrees away, may not have even seen it. And they're like, well, that's the snub to justify it. I'm like, stop, guys.
The Speaker of the House,
trying too hard.
The Speaker of the House ripping up the president's speech. And if it was Obama's a president and a conservative did it, I'd say the same.
If it was
it's
the guy would be
bad.
looking for a job. Okay, if this was John Boehner to Obama back in the day and he ripped up the speech, they'd throw him out of office for ripping up a federal document. Okay, if Donald Trump did this, they'd say, we're going to impeach him for ripping up a piece of paper because it's a federal document. Like, and again, I think that's the double standard that so many people are sick of. Honestly, even some people on the left are like, we're shooting ourselves, like the James Carvilles of the world, who are, rabid leftists, but are like...
I like James Carville.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He's a rabid leftist, but I'm like, he's like, we are insane.
Yeah.
Stop being insane. I mean, even, Bill Maher, had Bannon on the other day. He's like, yeah, you're right. We are showing the worst of us. And...
Is it funny when like Bill
I don't
Maher
agree with him on any of these things, but like I appreciate that someone can recognize where they're wrong. Just like I think I can do it with us sometimes. You know what I mean? And like now, when you've taken sort of the hits that I take and the family takes, and you take it a little bit more personally, it's like I'm going to be a little more aggressive than I would be otherwise. But like. In my mind, I've earned that right.
Bill Maher's a liberal guy who I like because he doesn't language police. People are just tired of being scolded.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main thing. Like, people are sick and tired of being scolded for every mistake or every misstep.
Well, no, someone in the mainstream will write an article that I cursed today. Now,
yes.
I sort of did a lot.
And I hope they note that I didn't care for it.
You
I didn't go for that.
You have chastised me greatly.
Yeah.
Someone... As opposed to understanding that there are different contexts for different things. And like, I try to pride myself on at least being real, even if, we live in a sort of a
Did you ever think, though, that
world.
you would get to be an adult and then there would be somebody who wanted to write a newspaper article that you used the F word?
No, I did not. No, I did not, because
you're a kid. You're like, I can't wait to grow up. And
we're not adults, guys. The reality is, like, there are no adults in the room anymore. You know,
right.
we've long overshot that. You know, and you see it every day.
Does it ever hit you like now you're like, okay, this has happened, this your father's, but for the rest of your life, this is going to be something you have to discuss. Like you were famous before, but does it ever like sit with you like, God, this is going to be the next 40 years? I'm going to have to.
Yeah, it's a little different. And just with my hobbies and things there's something nice about anonymity. You know what I mean? Like, and even with The Apprentice, like if I showed up in a suit, people are like, wait a minute. Like now it's like I could be wearing a hat and like a t-shirt, and they're like, there he is. You know what I mean?
Well, especially
the voice.
It depends on the hat too.
Yeah.
I mean, some hats.
That is true. The
People
MAGA hat would give you away. Yeah.
Solid
It's my
point,
disguise. Yeah.
It depends on whether I'm trolling or actually trying to go incognito, but it doesn't change things all that much for me these days. So, you know, I miss a little bit of that anonymity. But, you know, in the end, I think it's worth it because I like what's going on. Listen, I'm the father of 5 young kids. I sort of see that the push towards crazy. I think of so many of those things as, you know, so anti-American, whether it's the attack on the Second Amendment, the attack on the First Amendment now. You know, you can't say these things. You know, dude, you're a comedian. I mean, look at like just the cancel culture in comedy. Like, it's sick. I mean, I love what Chappelle did, you know, a couple weeks ago, but like the fact that he's one of the few people brave enough to actually even take on the subject. I'm like, you guys realize like this is your livelihood. Like you're not allowed to be funny because the problem with being funny, and I'm not a comedian, I'm not that funny. I just say sort of what I'm thinking a lot. Like the problem with being funny is to be good. It's no different than anything else. It's no different than being an entrepreneur. You're going to have some fails.
You're going to
have some whiffs. And today, if you're in comedy and you have a whiff, and it may not be that it's not funny, but it's just not funny to that guy.
Yeah.
Right now, that one guy doesn't think it's funny because you made some sort of joke about, you know, trans female weightlifters, you know, destroying the competition. Like, it's over.
Yes.
By the way,
your life is over, so you don't take those risks anymore. You don't take that chance anymore.
Chappelle they come after, but he's great because
he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit. He's so like he just lets people say what they want because he takes any side. It's like Chris Rock's another one who's great at like I don't always know what side he's going to take, and that's to me what I like about a comedian like him or like Chappelle.
But,
you don't always know where they're going to come down, like what side they're going to come down on.
Correct, but then also, I mean, then the part, and now this is where I'm going to contradict my last statement. You have sort of the comedians that then try to become political activists. And it's now they're no longer being funny and they can do stuff that is vile and try to use it under the guise of comedy when everyone reasonably realizes they're not being comedians. So it's like, well, we could say whatever we want because I was once a comedian. It's like, no, you're not. You're an activist now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's hard. I mean, it's a fine line, right?
If you're attempting to be like hey, there's guys who are activists who are comedians and they believe politically and they're very funny. Even if I don't agree with them, they're still good.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got to try to be funny first and make your point while you're being funny. Like no one wants you to stop on stage and sit there and preach. It's embarrassing. No one gives a shit.
Correct. Yeah. That's what politicians are for. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's like, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's got to be rough. I mean, because I've seen your stuff for years. Like, you know, there are things, some of the great comedy stuff of all. I mean, take Chappelle. Like, Chappelle's show is literally some of the best TV ever made. There are skits that are incredible that I literally cannot even joke about today.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when he did Clayton Bigsby, like, come on, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't.
It was the opening sketch on the show.
It was
brilliant.
the opening, and you're just like, oh, it was probably the funniest, 4 minutes of TV history. I mean, because he's calling out, and you know it's comedy. Today, it'd be over. You couldn't do that skit.
You can go back.
Eddie Murphy Raw. Some of that stand-up.
You don't even
that
have
was
to.
For TV. That was a movie. Today, you couldn't say the things that he said.
You can go to network TV. You can look at, and not even that long ago, you can look at, I don't know, you never watch it, Jim, but the first season of The Office that was on NBC in prime time, if you go back and you watch it on Netflix, you're like, never. It wouldn't fly.
Even jokes they would do on panel on The Tonight Show. Like I was watching some old Dangerfield stuff, and I'm like, there's a couple things where even Johnny was like, oh, but it was like 1983, and the things that they did today would get you ruined even if you did them on HBO or Netflix.
Correct. I mean, there's a couple of guys that'll. I mean, I think South Park still takes some of these things.
They do, yeah.
And they don't give a shit
because they've been told that like they've almost said like, how stupid are you to get mad at a cartoon? Like,
correct.
And they're above it all. Like,
but
you can't.
But then Family Guy used to be great, and even it's gone. Like you could just see it's like leftist messaging. You know, it's just lost. It's lost the comedy appeal and just tries to go for like a kill shot each and every time. So, you know, it's a shame to see it. And, you know, and as someone who's, you know, Saturday Night Live, you know, I used to, as a kid, like I'd watch the reruns of, you know, of Saturday Night Live my whole life. It was awesome. And it's like, today, it's like, okay, here we go. Like, great.
You kind of know I don't like to know where they're coming from politically. Like, I don't care if they like Obama, but I didn't need them to sing, you know, "To Sir with Love" or whatever the song was.
Come on, waiting for a punchline, and you're like, wait, it's just the.
Just
you just know where it's going. Like, yeah, it's like, okay.
Like, this
comedy
is a parody of
its edge when you know what the punchline is before it's ever delivered.
Half the time, the surprise of where it goes is part. And I'm not saying a comic can't have a point of view. Of course you can. But like when it's the same one every time and you're not trying to be funny, you're trying to prove it to me. It's like, you don't need to do that. Just liberal comedians, I think, are brilliant. I don't give a shit what their politics are. They make me laugh.
Of course.
I guess we have to end our show. It's literally we usually end at 9:50 and it's now 10:20.
We actually didn't take a
so
break.
So much for half an hour.
No, awesome. I know.
We were supposed to end at 9:42.
No one told us.
No. Not for. I mean, that's when the show could have ended because we didn't take a break.
Oh, we didn't take a break.
Yeah.
So
that's what they told me. But like I said,
we were
it's
enjoying
not like
a conversation.
From these things. I'll have the conversation. By the way, there will be numerous articles canceling me over the coming days.
That's what we're banking on.
And I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That's what we're banking on, too.
I just don't give a shit. And there will be an article about me saying that I don't give a shit and so on and so forth.
And we will get yelled at because when you walked in, we didn't throw water bottles at you and scream at you. Like, there's no winning.
For the record, for those of you who aren't watching, Jim just punched me in the face and kicked me and called me alt-right. He just did it off camera just to save you the hassle of...
And I threw my shoe at him while he was on the ground.
I don't want you to go into the weekend with that kind of hate for just having a conversation as opposed to for just trying to cancel me.
And by the way, how great would it be if the Secret Service is just listening to this and has no visual and ran in and tackled me?
Yeah, Jim just got shot. Buckwheat has been shot.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah, man, it's good seeing you.
You know you're welcome back
anytime you want to come in.
Let's do it.
We will see you guys Monday.
Yes.
Or Tuesday.
Bro, we'll see you next week.
You'll see you next week.